And then as we come in, we come to the altar of sacrifice. And the altar of sacrifice, I have here these kind of visuals that I often use when I'm doing the tabernacle tours. They would take their animal in, and as they're bringing the animal to the altar, they would tie the animal to the altar. And then it's interesting who kills the animal in most situations. I mean, there are different types of sacrifices, so it's hard to say like in every situation, but in most situations, if the person is bringing the animal,
it's the person who has to do that in many of the sacrifices, not the priest.
So the person would first lay their hands upon the head of the animal, and that, many scholars say, is representing that it's symbolically transferring their sins to that animal. And then they take the knife, they put the pan under, and they slit the throat, catches the blood, and then the priest takes over from there. But that symbolism that the death of the animal is completely upon that person. It's not the priest who does it, it's the person. And think about the symbolism and the power of that when you are having to do that. So they would take that, and then they put the blood on different parts of the altar. The animal is burned, and depending on the type of sacrifice, because again, there's quite a few different types, either the priest would, or it would be fully burned, the priest would eat it, or even the person would eat it. Mm-hmm. And I find that interesting that you have the symbol of, in essence, like a type of the sacrament, that because of the death, we now become at one with Christ and are able to commune or have a feast, have a meal, have a communal meal with the Savior, where we now are able to begin our journey back into the presence of the Lord.
So we need to pause here because ancient sacrifice is so foreign. It's so foreign to us, and quite frankly, it's so distasteful to most of us today. We hear about this, and we've grown up in a culture, most of us today, where you want meat, you go to the store. Somebody else took care of processing the animal to the point where you can just buy the meat. Well, in antiquity, everybody would have been much more likely to have participated in these things. You'll notice once we get to the New Testament that many people in that early Christian movement, who largely were Jewish people rooted in these traditions of the Old Testament, they're having a hard time letting go of some of these old practices that started here in Leviticus and Exodus so many 1,500 years before. The epistle to the Hebrews, listen to this, chapter 10, verse 4. For it is not possible that the blood of bulls and of goats should take away sins. So I think that's a really important thing to recognize, is that this concept that it's not the blood, it's not the burning, it's not the animal, it's not the placing hands on the animal. None of that takes away sin. That's all a symbol to point us to the real thing, or the real being who does take away our sin. Just like when a sacrament tray comes by you this Sunday and you take a little piece of bread, that bread doesn't cleanse you. That water doesn't cleanse you all by itself. Those are symbols to very tangibly and physically remind us of the body and the blood of He who does ultimately forgive us and He who does save us. So let's not get so excited about any of the symbols, either in antiquity or in our modern day, that we get stuck at the symbol and don't look at what the symbol is representing, which in all of these cases is Jesus Christ and the ultimate sacrifice that He performed for us.